morning, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the UAE Internal Auditors Association, I welcome you to the first session of the 5 series that are being held during the month of May, as IA Global has chosen May to create awareness about internal audit. So May is considered to be the International Internal Audit Awareness Month. Today, our speaker is Mr. Hassam Shafi. He is Board of Trustee, Internal Audit Foundation, IA Global Founder and Managing Director. Oversight Consulting and Training. He is a global thought leader, consultant, and advisor to businesses on anti-fraud, anti-corruption, internal audit strategies, and process transformation. Mr. Shafi is a passionate fraud fighter and international speaker. So, ladies and gentlemen, join me in welcoming Mr. Hassam Shafi. Mr. Hassam, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Ms. Samia. I'm very honored to be with you today, and thank you for giving me this opportunity to be with you and celebrate the month of May with our colleagues, brothers and sisters in the professions. I am really sorry that my camera is not on. It's I had a technical problem at the last minute, so instead of delaying the session, I decided to go on without a camera. And those are the challenges that we're facing by working remotely. That's exactly what we're going to talk about today, is that how can you stay relevant with all the obstacles and challenges that we have in today's norm. Without further ado, again, I would like to say happy month of May to everyone, proud internal auditors and proud professionals in the functions of oversight. I would like to take the opportunity also to again thank the UAE Internal Audit Association, which one that my heart is very soft for because it's such a world-leading association, and all of us in the region and beyond need to be very proud of what they have been doing and what they continue to be doing for the profession and the professionals. So thank you very much for the association and the management team, the board, the president, and everyone in the association. And more importantly, that helps this to happen is the members. So thank you, members, also for supporting the association. All right. What we will talk about today is how to stay relevant during the new norms. All right. Whether you are an auditor or a fraud investigator or a risk manager or whatever, does it make any difference for any of us? No. We need to continue to be relevant during such times. You know, I'm very proud of our current global chairman of the IIA, because she picked up a very, very interesting theme that matches with the situation we're going through. She said she picked up a theme of re-imaging resilience with a tact. What does that tact mean? It means technology. Professionals need to embrace technology. Auditors must be tech savvy in order to be able to stay relevant with the new norm. As you all know, all right, and it was unexpected that most of businesses and most of organizations have shifted into digitalization, all right? This is the time that digitalization, and the only time that digitalization has been accelerated just because of the pandemic. Organizations in the past used to delay investing in IT and digitalization and upscaling their staff in these areas. But now, with the pandemic, everybody's rushed into doing this. So the first T is technology. And then the A is agility. Agility means that we need to change our mindset in order to adapt and change our traditional ways of doing business, in order to be up to date with what's going on, and can manage and can provide our organizations with benefits and value to what's happening. If we stay the old way and continue to be using the old traditions, you know, we're not going to be relevant anymore. I'm sorry. I'll be one of you. I'm old enough, and I'm telling myself every day that if I don't change and adapt to technology and new ways to do business, I'm going to run on myself out of business. All right. The third letter, which is a C, is collaboration. We need, now it's the time more than ever that we work with everyone else in the organization. First line, second line, also members and participants of the third line, internal and external. The collective knowledge and experience is the only thing that will make us stronger and can survive the new norms. The third is talent and tenacity. All right. Therefore, in my opinion, that one size fits all training, if you want to say, for the audit department is not the case anymore. We need now to identify individual skill needs for each of our members and address that. And then when they come back, we give them room and space to apply what they have learned. All right. The old way of doing training is not anymore fits the new norms. All right. The other thing is that courage and persistence must prevail to maneuver the challenges and deliver impactful reports to management and stakeholders. You know, also, I'm bringing some quotes from the internal audit and from the Association of Certified Fraud Examiners, because all professional organizations have found out that are speaking more or less the same language, that we need to stay relevant. And by staying relevant, we need to change, right? The Bruce Doris, the president and CEO of the Association of Certified Fraud Examiners, in February of 2021 said, just as fraudsters are looking for new ways to steal during the pandemic, we must find novel methods to catch them. Guess what? Even if we must do that remotely. All right. So we need to continue to do our jobs. All right. Even better than the way we used to do it. All right. And continue to provide quality and value to our stakeholders. All right. In a quarterly survey, 79% of those that took the survey observed significant increase in fraud. 90% of them, all right, expect even more fraud in 2021. So what does that mean for auditors and fraud examiners? It means that we need to, again, you see, we go back, this is what Bruce said. We go back to what Janessa also said, technology, leverage up-to-date technology to perform the jobs, all right? Brainstorm, which is collaboration, all right? We go back to what Janessa said, collaborate, talk to IT and ask them, how can I communicate? How can we reach out with those people who are remotely working, all right? How can we communicate the new norms to the to those who are remotely working? Well, how can we tell them what's acceptable and what's not acceptable? Remember that before the pandemic, no one single organization, maybe I'm exaggerating, maybe few did have, but organizations that I know didn't have any policies and procedures for working remotely, right? Because they expected you to come 8 o'clock in the morning, leave at 5 or maybe later, as the case may be. And this is what they had policies and procedures for. The experts, all right, now feel the extra pressure. Auditors who are not skilled in technology and in conducting remote their audits or investigation remotely, especially when you're talking to people across borders and so on and so forth, are going to be under huge pressure if they're not skilled to do that, to do so. Another thing you need to be prepared for in order to continue performing is to be over prepared for any, like today, all right? I have a technical camera problem, all right? Now, how am I going to do that? I need to be prepared. I try to use my phone, the camera of my phone, but it gives me an echo on the computer. You need to be prepared of the unexpected, especially when you're conducting work remotely. All right, closely work with your legal department, because working remotely could involve working cross borders or in multiple countries at the same time. You need to do to be comfortable and to ensure that you're not breaking any laws or regulations. Come together collaboratively as well. IT, legal, human resources, what have you. Talk to each other. Be strong internally and externally. Collect data to be to have knowledge. You know, we don't have the opportunity anymore of walking down the hall to observe things. So the only way to get to know about what is going on and to spot unexpected acts before they happen or immediately after they happen is to continue communication and collaboration. You need to talk to staff, you need to talk to other people in different lines in the organizations. You must agree with me that the months of March and April of 2020 will be remembered almost forever. Forever. For me, I lived until I saw the time. All right, we have watched lots of movies of crisis and things that could happen, and we say it's a movie, you know, it cannot happen. But if before the pandemic anybody came to me and said the whole world will be shut down at the same time, on the same day, everybody will stay home, no cars will be in the streets, on the streets, no people will be on the streets, we will all change our looks by wearing masks and so on at the same time, I would not have believed it for a bit. All right, but guess what? It happened. It happened. So again, that gives me another thing that, you know, risks that we used to look at are not the same. Okay, so we have to also reconsider how we look at risks from now on. Great, during the March and April time, also great digital acceleration happened. My dear friends, some of the data included in this presentation was a collaboration between the Internal Audit Foundation of the IIA Global, which I have the honor to be on the board of trustee, and PricewaterhouseCoopers, and I really appreciate the information they have provided during that time. So the Internal Audit Foundation does a lot of work for the profession to do researches and publish very valuable resources for us, and which I am currently using to give this presentation and share this information with you. All right, right. The other thing is that how can auditors pivot with the momentum? How auditors and the fraud examiners can capitalize on this momentum, all right? So we need to skill ourselves, skill up our skills, knowledge, because my dear friends, businesses have already shifted to digitalization, all right? So I don't think there will be a go back. Those that were not able to shift to digitalization during the pandemic, you must have known about a lot of businesses that closed down. But those that were able to shift and adapt to the new norms, all right, they are still in business and took advantage. So those businesses that resisted and feared and slow walked into digitalization, or if you used to go and say, we need to upgrade our equipment, our server, they say, no, we need the money for something else and so on. Now all of these have rushed into the digitalization. So auditors began also to pivot to virtualization. You need to do your audits remotely. You need to share documents remotely. You need to interview people remotely. And that causes a lot of challenges for us, because mainly we were used to the person-to-person, in-person meetings, giving documents and handing documents back and forth, all right, interviewing people so we can see in person, so we can see their whole body movements and so on and so forth. Now we need to learn new skills, and we will talk about them, some of them now today, and I hope that you can benefit something out of it. All right, so auditors should continue to capitalize on the momentum of change. Organizations have already shifted, as we said, so you need to walk or run together at the same speed. Now, internal audit functions on a faster track toward fuller transformation. You are not anymore, you see, especially in the Middle East, maybe an Africa continent, and maybe Latin America continent, you know, we're behind some of the countries in the West and Europe on the road to transformation. Now, the pandemic has put us on faster track to do that, and I hope every one of us is doing that or preparing for that. Otherwise, he will stay behind. Those who are willing to transform will be a great value to their organizations. Internal auditors that will be able to transform, all right, and use digitalization will be able to provide timely assurance and advice services to their organization. Otherwise, if you are not skilled, tell me if you're, you know, I was reading the other day, actually yesterday on LinkedIn, someone has posted that they closed down their offices. Big space, a large number of employees. They surveyed their employees who wants to work in an office and who wants to work from home or wherever. All right, only 15% of their staff said, I need an office, and the rest were very happy to work from home. So how can you do that and still provide quality services and be able to evaluate the risks, including cyber risks now and fraud risks, you know, because the frauds have increased dramatically during 2020 just because everything will be online. All right, so, and those auditors will be able to think ahead of the post-pandemic. Remember that during the lockdown, those companies, as I mentioned before, that survived, those that were able to quickly, all right, gain the benefit of investing in modern technology and in upscaling their people in the digitalized world. They were able to maintain or even increase their relevance to their customers, partners, and suppliers and stakeholders all together. Those that were not able to do so, unfortunately, many of them have shut down their businesses. Organizations shifted into direct to customer channels, which made it more challenging to those unskilled auditors and or fraud examiners. They were during that last year and continue to be this year, larger scale of remote work, contactless payments. You know, you don't have to be there or go anywhere. You know, in where I live, everything in 2020 shifted into automated service. All payments, all services, health service, it's been automated. I have seen a lot of applications now for doctors and health service providers and buying clothes. I don't need to go to the shop to buy anymore. Education, online learning has increased during that time unbelievably. In the old days, when you used to say, "I'll give you a course virtually," you say, "No, when is your next person-to-person course?" All right. But now people say virtually, right? I would say yes, you know, because they want to stay safe until they're comfortable, or many people have been vaccinated, so we're comfortable to be again with each other in the same room. Fraud risks also have changed. All right, the more risks have emerged internally and externally. Why? Because business proved they could shift into remote working, but not yet. It's still premature for businesses to provide assurance that the process they're using for remote working and providing services is secured process, and the capabilities are there, people are learned, and policies and procedures are there. So it is still in the development process. And as I mentioned, other risks have also arise internally and externally, especially fraud risks. There were a survey conducted or a poll by Pricewaterhouse, and this poll indicated that 46% of internal audit departments are updating the risk assessment, evaluating the emerging risks. Guess what? 40% said that internal audit departments say that they want to learn more about using data and technology to support the risk function response to COVID-19. That's worrying. 40%. So at least in every industry, at least 60% of the respondents expected to increase the frequency of audit plan update. We're not going to have this, you know, we always talked about audit plans should be dynamic, not static, and we can update it and so on and so forth. Now it's more than ever, it's going to be dynamic, not static, or the minor changes, updates that you used to do, they're not going to be the same anymore. They're going to be different, and you're going to be actually addressing risks and activities that you did not have on your plan before. Internal auditors also are directing, as I was just saying, internal audit departments are directing attention to unplanned activities that you did not used to take into consideration in the past, and so on. You'll be taken into consideration now. Risks that may not have considered in the past, you will be addressing now, because there will be and there are new and emerging risks for your department and for the organization in general. So remote technology readiness assessment are also being done to identify the IT and infrastructure that you need to invest in and you should have in order to stay relevant with the new norm. 3 pivots that were mentioned. Also, one is to ramp up virtual capabilities, including collaboration, which means agile and prepared internal auditors need to get read. Remember when we talked, when Janetha, the global chairman, said agile internal audit department, all right, no intensive face-to-face interaction anymore, all right? Manual and paper-based documentation are not going to be the same anymore because things are changing. So you need to adapt new ways and move away from the face-to-face and paper handling and base. You know what? You need to be more independent. We're not going to be served on a golden plate anymore that I call up finance and I say, pass by and give me a report on payables or receivables. All right? No, my dear friend, you're going to be able to get that on your own and you conduct your analysis on your own. If you don't know how to do that and can't do it, or you're not willing to upskill yourself to be able to do these things, and I know there are a lot of auditors know how to do things, because internal audit department is the most probably only department in any organization that has wide access to information and data than any other department in the organization. So it will be self-service from now on. You don't need to talk to anybody as much as you used to while you're engaging with your stakeholder and first line and second line. Talk to them, all right? But you're going to be ending up in a self-service internal audit function. Internal audit also benefits the business by operating as a self-service. And this is what we just said. You're going to be, and guess what? Management will appreciate that, will appreciate the cost effectiveness, and will appreciate the time it used to take for meetings, workshops, and people involved with the auditors on their time. So it is now the opportunity for internal audit department to become a data-enabled organization or departments or teams and use the approaches for using the data yourself. All right. Again, you need to include the virtual discovery stage, fact-finding. Fact-finding, you need to do it now, again, virtually, and you you need to develop ways to how to collect facts, either through questionnaires or performing detailed analysis on accounts or whatever in order to get the information you need. Again, as I mentioned, businesses will appreciate the new ways of doing business because it cuts back on meetings and it becomes more cost effective. All right, you'll do that on your own time instead of engaging in a time-consuming traditional workshops or walkthrough and workshops. Cost effectiveness, technical enabled solutions, and conducting audit tasks remotely while maintaining the same level of quality. This is very important. The last point is maintaining the quality and reducing the burden on the business. I'm sure stakeholders will really appreciate this. All right, some of us as internal auditors used to the traditional way may have some difficulties at the beginning to shift, but my dear friends, there is no way other than moving forward. As a result, internal audit provided, as a result of doing all of this, you will be able to help the management and give them reports and give them information and recommendation on what is required from them or what's needed in order for them to make an informed decisions on the way forward and on the remote working environment and on the post-pandemic solutions and situations, all right, and where to invest in IT infrastructure in order to help the business to move forward, grow, and continue to be relevant to their clients and partners. Pivot 2 is embracing data and digitalized operational modes. As we discussed, you need to be tech savvy, take advantage of the technology and data analytics. Internal auditors also can identify root cause and behavioral trends, spotting emerging risks, and beyond through using digitalization. This is the the whole presentation is talking about digitalization, collaboration, agile, getting away from the traditional business. This is how you are going to stay relevant to your stakeholders. All right. Pivot 3 is let people, not technology, lead the transformation. See, this is very important. There are a lot of people say technology will take over jobs from people. That could happen only if you don't stay relevant. That could happen if you don't keep upskilling yourself in order to stay relevant to your stakeholders. All right, so don't let that happen. Take control as a human being, all right, and lead the transformation. Don't let the technology do that. One of the first things that you need to do is they say, and the title is express the business strategy-led vision for your internal audit. To make the internal auditors very aware of the business strategy and make the internal auditors become part of taking the organization forward and implementing the business strategy. 2, assess capabilities and allow personalized training paths. This is what I talked about earlier. One size fits all is not anymore. You need to abandon that. The one size fits all training process that we used to do. All internal auditors will take leadership. All internal auditors will take da-da-da-da. Now we need to build specific skills, individual skills for everyone. I mean, don't take me wrong. They may be there is a training for everybody that need to be taken, right? But you need to also address the individual need. Set up for citizen-led innovation. All right, you need to give room to people after they come back from training or those that have skills to be innovative, to implement what they have in mind, to contribute into the improvement of the system. Injecting new talent, obviously very clear is that hire catalysts, hire people with different skills in order to upskill your department and give new ideas. All right, how to help boost your digitally driven operating model of focus of success is by being proactive, risk focused, and risk sensing, flexible operating model, and dynamic teams with leverage models, audit spectrums, not audit plans, higher precision audit activities, behavioral science, which is leveraging data to identify behavioral trends and root cause. What are the challenges, my dear friends, in these things? All right, we have discussed a few challenges. We'll talk about a few more, and those, by listing the challenges doesn't mean that they don't have solutions. They do have solutions, and you have to work around them, and you have to find ways, which is being aware of the matter. You're not being aware of matters that taking place in your organizations immediately or right away in order to give them immediate attention, because simply you're working remotely. So you're not walking down the hall again and observing and talking to people to be able to spot things that happen. Accessing personnel across different time zones. I'm in the UAE, somebody else in the US, somebody else in Latin America, and so on. And we need to talk, to have a meeting, to have an interview, to conduct an audit. All of this is a challenge. Identifying signs of verbal and non-verbal deception, because you're not in the room anymore while you're interviewing someone, whether you're a fraud examiner or you are an internal auditor, so you don't see the body moves, you don't see the reactions all together, So there are ways to possibly see most of the upper body of the person, so maybe that would help. Exchanging key documents is another challenge during interviews, because you have to use screenshots or whatever. Obtaining relevant accounting and financial data, as we mentioned, you have to become a self-service auditor or fraud examiner in order to get the information, because it will be hard to exchange documentation. Also, it is you need to transform from the old system to the new norms. Relying on the scanned documents, obviously within instead of originals, as you used to have the originals in the past. All right, authentication of this documentation also going to be a challenge, because with Photoshops and all of that stuff, things can be changed. Again, working without the ability to walk the hall, as we said, is another challenge that could be an obstacle for us. Employees may be hesitant to report the issues. When you are behind the screen and you're home and so on, you may not be encouraged to speak, simply because you're comfortable, and if you are in the office, the thing may annoy you more, but when you are at home, you can ignore it. So employees may be hesitant. They may be worried of answering questions during the interviews. Also, you have to, through the interview, build that trust between you and the interviewee in order for the person to open up. Everything must be documented, and you have to provide quality work, as we said from the beginning, and you need to give the indication to people, and not only the indication, you have to let people know that you do not prefer or support compliance over attending to complaints or areas to be audited. Companies need to be aware of the challenges in the remote working. You, as an internal auditor, you need to let your organizations know of the difficulties in the remote working, and that it will be most of the time very challenging to prove inappropriate actions of employees. We don't want to give the impression that we're prioritizing compliance over responding to complaints, because that may discourage people from talking. The other thing is that, and I talked about it earlier, we don't have policies for remote working, so we need to have a policy. One of the things that you need to ask for as an auditor is the development of a remote working policy or to incorporate in your current policy. The other thing is that harassment and other unacceptable behaviors can still continue in the remote working environment. For an example, you're going to be very challenged if you get a complaint or a tip from inside to say that someone of the employee is on alcohol or drugs while on the job. You know, we're going to have a hard time to detect that, and we need to be creative on ways of how can we provide the proof and look into that. All right. So again, employees can still harass co-workers and exhibit other unacceptable behaviors. All right. It's a key aspect when conducting an audit or an investigation remotely is the ability to prove an employee's conduct to determine the fact. As I just mentioned a couple of slides ago, it's going to be challenging to prove the employee's conduct in a remote working environment. It is even more challenging to prove the link between the employee's action and the accusation itself. All right, so it will all depend on what? Our workers who must report unacceptable behavior. We need to make the employees comfortable enough and safe enough to report unacceptable behavior. We need to build that workplace culture, even if we are working remotely, that you can report safely, and we will act on it. And we will act on it. We are open for business. We continue to be there for you. All right. That's very important to give to our employees, and be in touch and communication with them regularly in order for them to be able and not to hesitate into coming and reporting unacceptable behavior. As I mentioned earlier, my dear friends, policies and procedures are very important, that we need to update or develop policies and procedures for remote working new norms. All right, and have everyone receive a copy, sign it, read it, and be aware of it. Otherwise, you will have a problem. You will have a problem if you want to dismiss one of the employees and you don't have anything to support it. So that may work against you. So policies and procedures. As I mentioned earlier, training. We need to train people. This is the best time for conducting corporate trainings, and tell employees how what's acceptable and what's not acceptable in remote working, and how can they spot corruption and fraud and illegal activities in this environment, and that you can come and report them safely and with no problem. All right. Then the other thing, as we mentioned in the interviews, because you're not in the same room anymore, so you cannot really see the whole body, as we say, movements and signs for deception, if possible. So we need to focus on a few things: the facial expressions, the vocal intonation, any other signs that you may be aware of or you can see. All right, so you can tell. The other important one point that we did not used to pay so much attention to is listening. Listening, it became a very important way of trying to identify if the person you're talking to is lying or saying the truth. Because if you're conducting an interview on a phone call, you need to carefully listen. Listening skills becoming very important. So if you have any way to improve that skill, go ahead and work on it, and that could help you in case of an audit or investigation. The other thing is that you need to make the interviewee very comfortable, as I mentioned earlier, in order for the person not to be drawn back, but actually to open up with you and speak and give you the information that you need. Setting up, the other thing is that you see the environment the person you're talking to is in. If they don't have a laptop or a computer or internet or whatever, provide them with that. The other thing is that ask them to go into a quiet place, not to be distracted and disturbed, so you can speak with them quietly. Make sure that they don't consult with anybody while they're talking to you, so they don't talk to people on the phone, or they don't bring people into the room. You may also, if you're conducting an interview, whether it's an audit or investigation in another country or cross-border, you may hire someone in that country to be with that person at the time, or a company employee from the company in that country to be with the person as well. So a big challenge is to establish authenticity and evidence and reliability of evidence during the interviews. All right, assessing the credibility. It's very important that when you are not in the same room, to be able to assess the credibility of that person. So it is simply because you cannot see the whole body, so you don't see if their legs are shaking, if their hands under a table and shaky or whatever. So you won't be able to do that. So it makes assessing credibility challenging. You also should consider the behavioral reasonableness and probability, motive to falsify, omission, corroboration, and past records. You need to take those into consideration while you're talking to people in order to build the credibility of the person you're talking to. Some of the issues that you need to analyze while you're talking to people: the witness demeanor of testifying, the character of the witness capacity to perceive, recollect, and communicate, the client witness character for honesty and dishonesty, bias, interest, and motive, inconsistency in witness testimony, the existence of non-existence of any testified facts, the client or a witness attitude toward the testifying, the witness admission of untruthfulness. So because of videos, interviews can be awkward and nerve-breaking, especially in audits or investigations. Therefore, we say do not use accusatory language. So don't watch what you say. All right, be kind to people. Say things that you want to say in a way that you don't shut the person down. For an example, if a person, while you're talking to, you ask them a question, they cross their arms. All right, don't say you cross your arm. Why you're lying? You know, and instead say why this question made you uncomfortable and you crossed your arms. You know, so things like that you need to take into consideration in order to make people open up for you and this is what it says here, your tone is calm, should be calm. When your tone is calm and conversational, the interviewee is less likely to shut down and more likely to give you the information you need. All right, keeping the interview confidential, obviously, because you're not in the same room anymore, so you need to keep the interview confidential and from a private and a quiet location. And you tell people from the beginning, if you have a policy on confidentiality, read it out to the person you're interviewing, all right, or remind the person of the policy that all the information will be discussed in the meeting is confidential and should not be discussed with anybody. Excuse me again. Ask the interviewee not to consult with anyone during the interview, so they don't use the phone or anything, or talk to anybody during the interview. If you have a person with you, the best thing for you to do to make that interviewee comfortable is to introduce that person to the interviewee and introduce the role of that person to the interviewee. So be open about it, all right? You may also show the interviewee the room where you're interviewing the person from, for them to feel comfortable that you are also following the same procedures that you're setting up for the interviewee. So keep confidential documents safe by making a new screenshot. This is another rule that you need to make upfront in the interview. I'm going to share some documents with you on the screen. No screenshots. So you're not allowed to take any copies or anything. Building and maintaining trust and rapport. Do not start with the interview questions right away or speak about anything, all right, other than the interview at the beginning, the weather, the kids, the families, and so on. Break the ice in order to make it easy to build that trust and to make the person comfortable, and you try to make the interview and the interviewee feel as neutral as possible. Explain your action to the person and say, for example, say, I'm sorry to bring you in like this, and show appreciation. Thank you for coming and joining me on Zoom. If you look down or you write down, explain, you write down a note, explain it to the interviewee. Say, sorry, I looked down because I wanted to see my notes, or I was taking a note. All of this should make the person feel comfortable and helps in the interview. The other thing that I mentioned, that when you sit further from the screen a little bit. So you know what? I moved further from the screen. I thought you can see me, but you don't see me. All right, I'll come back to the screen. Sit further back from the screen so the interviewee can see your upper body, and light your face. You know, no shade. One side toward the window and one side is shaded. Make your lips, your nose, your face clearly appear to the interviewee, because that builds trust and honesty. Again, appreciation, as I mentioned, say thank you for joining me. I'm interviewing you from my home. Show the person around your room and so on and so forth. That makes the person very comfortable. The other thing, as I mentioned, show appreciation. That builds rapport and helps the interviewee to relax when you do that. At the beginning of this session, I said, be over prepared. Remember Bruce Doris from the ACFE say, be over prepared for any interruption. Have a plan B for internet, for for the platform you're using for the interview. I usually have a hotspot ready from my phone to connect directly and immediately. Two, if my internet goes down, or I have problems with the internet. So it's very important that you have a plan B for your interview. Give the interviewee instructions and direction on how exactly the interview will be run. Run a test with the person before the interview to make sure that the computer is compatible, that that on the day of the interview things will go smooth and proper at the time. So being over prepared is a good thing. Take your time to test the system and so on, and have a plan B for things before the time of the interview. But again, that does not mean that nothing will go wrong during the interview. Okay, things can stay, and those are the challenges that we need to be ready for and skill ourselves for in order to be able to manage and continue to be relevant to our stakeholders. All right, if you can't do a video call, do a telephone call, but telephone calls will be challenging in exchange of documentation. Another thing, my dear friends, you need to be sure of and help your organization to work on, because this is very important during the remote working, is to have people have the courage to report. So a trusted whistleblowing platform is very important. Need to be simple, trusted, and independent. Whistleblower rights and protection policies need to have a policy in place to protect people who come forward and report. Accessible and easy to for individuals. Anonymous reporting or giving the option to disclose multimedia files. You can upload multimedia file or extract multimedia files. Export conversation into a case management system. You may have a QR system, so you can it's a chat based. You can talk to people at any time, and you can speak as long as you want. Conversation can continue for extended period. The possibility of being deployed without any IT infrastructure. You don't need to invest too much money on IT, and there are a lot of systems and applications in the market for that. Free to use, should not cost the reporter any money to use. No registration and profile, possibility to connect with individuals or group. No unique identification identifiers in the conversation. This is very important as well to do. So whistleblowing system or platform, but trusted and independent, is very important. All right. Lastly, I want to say that every organization and every auditor and every fraud examiner should encourage their organizations to conduct due diligence on their suppliers, brokers, vendors, partners, business inside and outside, in order to make sure that that due diligence and proper due diligence can go a long way to prevent the need for an investigation or an audit. So make sure that things are working properly. People that you're dealing with are honest, and they know that you have no tolerance to unacceptable behaviors. All right, and there is a system again for employees to report suspicious or uncomfortable behaviors and actions, and make sure that your technology is up to date. It's very crucial. And as an auditor or investigator, you need to maintain at all time and as always your integrity, confidentiality, and independence through this challenging time. By this, I would like to thank you so much for being with me today. Happy month of May, happy Ramadan, Mubarak, and I thank the Association of Internal Audit of the United Arab Emirates for what they're doing for the professionals. And again, check out the Internal Audit Foundation, and through the Association of the UAE, you can donate or you can see the activities of the foundation. I'm happy if there's time for questions to take any question. Otherwise, you may contact me through the association if you have any questions, and I'll be happy to answer or work with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Hassan. Currently, we don't have any questions. Now you have inserted your information. If there is any questions, they will come back to you. Thank you very much for this informative session. Looking forward to interaction in the future. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for attending this session. Looking forward to welcoming to another session tomorrow morning as we are continuing this week with this series. Have a lovely afternoon, Ramadan Kareem, and see you tomorrow. Goodbye. Goodbye, Mr. Hassam. See you.
Goodbye.
Inshallah.
Thank you so much. Good. All
Bye
the best.
bye. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.